The ballot recounts continue in 3 hotly contested federal ridings, and we're now 3 weeks after the federal election. The Liberals right now have 170 seats. The Quebec riding of Terrebonne flipped to the Liberals by a single vote yesterday, so they're 2 seats away from a majority. And Marianne is here looking at the other recounts and how they're going to fall into place.
Yes, because overall ballot recounts were called in 4 tightly contested ridings, Terrebonne, but also the counting that has just begun today in a riding in Newfoundland and Labrador. That is in Terra Nova, the Peninsulas, a very tight race. In fact, it's considered the tightest election race in the entire country. In that case, the Liberal candidate beat the Conservative candidate by only 12 votes. So a razor-thin margin there, the closest again in Canada. So looking at the numbers there, you can understand why there was that automatic recount of the ballots triggered there. Now, if you're wondering when there is an automatic recount triggered, according to Elections Canada, that happens when a candidate wins less than 0.1% of the overall votes in a particular riding, and that recount is overseen by a judge. Now, looking at the other ridings, we mentioned Terrebonne. That is a riding in Quebec. That is one where we saw the results play out yesterday. Also a very razor-thin margin. That riding flipping back to the Liberals. When you look at that number, yes, your eyes are not deceiving you. Only by 1 single vote. And we heard from the Liberal candidate in that riding, Tatiana Auguste, who said this really highlights the importance of exercising your right to vote.
Every single vote matters, and I feel like, well, it cannot be any truer than today, than for me.
There are also 2 recounts being called in 2 different ridings in Ontario. Let's take a look at some of those right now. That's the riding of Milton East, Halton Hill South. That's where the Liberal candidate there saw a very tight race, beating the Conservative candidate by 29 votes. Initially declared for the Conservatives, but it flipped to the Liberals after the validation process. That recount happening tomorrow. On May 20th, a recount happening in the riding of Windsor-Tecumseh Lakeshore. That's where the Conservatives won by 77 votes in this riding. In this case, Heather, it was the Liberal candidate who requested this recount.
And if these recounts, these 3 remaining, fall for the Liberals in the end, where does that leave the party in terms of majority or minority government?
Well, as we know, they have 170 seats so far. They need that magic number of 172, as we know. But looking at the numbers now, even if they're victorious in all of these ridings, 2 of those seats will stay and they would gain 1, which means they would have a total of 171 ridings. When you look at this graphic here, it gives you an idea of how many they would need, and that would leave them 1 short of achieving that majority. And we spoke to political commentator Frédéric Berard about what he thinks of this.
That would change the whole dynamic in the parliament, obviously, because when you're a majority government, I mean, you have the right to do whatever you like. You don't need to trade. You don't need to try to influence that party and the other party. You do whatever you like for 4 years. That would make a huge difference for the Liberals, that's for sure.
Meanwhile, a very busy morning in that riding of Terra Nova, the Peninsulas. That ballot recounting was set to begin at 9 o'clock local time this morning. And Heather, it is expected to last up to 3 days.
Okay, Marianne, thank you very much.